welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Miller. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I did not eat candy before my episode, so I should be fine with my voice not cracking and stuff. I don't know. It just dries out my throat or something when I eat candy. So I made a point not to eat candy. And today I'm going to talk about admission. So I'm going to talk about from that moment when we realize that we are wrong and gathering the courage to admit it, not just to ourselves, but out loud. So admission is not just about acknowledging our mistakes. It's about learning that feeling of humility. And that's really what I was focused on as I was writing up the script for today. I did not like how that felt when I first started admitting my wrongs, and feeling humility. I didn't even know what I had to look it up, what humility meant. It's really taken me years to soften that blow to my ego every time I admit that I'm wrong. And I'm wrong a lot. Like, we're all wrong a lot. And I hated being wrong. I hated someone telling me I'm wrong. I hated people being smarter than me. What I didn't know when I first started admitting my wrongs, and what nobody told me in the beginning of sobriety, was that this too takes practice. Number one, to have more self-awareness, to notice that I'm wrong more often than I realize I am, And two, the absolute hatred of being wrong would dissipate to more of a feeling that's more equivalent to like losing a card game of Kings in the Corner. Like, it's not a big deal. And it really has gotten to that point. Now, it depends. There are some situations I find myself still feeling like I'm punched right in the ego when I'm wrong. But more often, I am able to just let it kind of roll right off my shoulders. So before I got sober, I was waking up with a hangover, right? But I'm not just talking about the after effects of like a wild and crazy night, more like straight guzzling fest while I was alone. That's what caused my hangovers. But also the emotional hangover that would, as soon as I opened my eyes, my face would flush, panic would set in, my heart would race. And I'm just like whispering to myself, oh my God, what did I do? What did I say last night? And it gets me all worked up. But living serenely today means that I had to clear out those emotional cobwebs. I had to look at that fear in the face. The things that I was trying to avoid, the things that I was trying to act like didn't happen, and hold up the mirror again, and say to myself, you did this. Like, this situation is a product of your own behavior. And admitting that to myself, and it did not feel good. It was uncomfortable. It was more than uncomfortable. It was shameful. And looking back, now I feel really brave that I made things right with myself and with others. But I had to start from the beginning, from the very beginning. It's not like you stop drinking and all of a sudden you start going around and apologizing to everybody. It doesn't work like that. The steps of the program are in the order that they are for a reason, and that's the way they should be followed. But now, after I've finished going through my steps and probably will go through the steps again at some point. I did start going through the steps again, but I kind of stalled, I think, and I haven't picked it back up. But now I practice step 10 on a daily basis, and that allows me to fast forward the tape and try to avoid anything, any behavior that's going to cause an emotional hangover tomorrow or even just later the same day. And then also review, is there something that I've already done that that needs me to address, and I need to apologize or make right something that I may have wronged. Um, and quite often I'll find myself thinking about, a conversation that I had with somebody that day, and I'll think, I wonder if when I said that, it could have come across in a negative way or hurtful or something. And so by doing this step 10, it gives me um, a chance to replay some of those relationship interactions I had throughout the day and think, be more thoughtful about others. And I have gone back like at 10 o'clock at night and sent somebody a text and said, I hope when I said this to you, it didn't come across this way, because I certainly didn't mean it to. And it's always so much appreciated when I do that. Most often it did not come across that way to the person, or at least they told me that it didn't. But I have had a couple times when it did, that I actually hit the nail on the head when I reached out and said, I hope it didn't come across this way. And it actually had. So I'm a big fan of doing that. And just because I'm sober doesn't mean that I'm not still a biatch sometimes. I try not to be, but some of my character defects die hard. I spent my whole life doing things and thinking one way. And so it's not just automatic that I'm going to be a good, wholesome person and I'm not going to act like that sometimes. I just do. I wish I didn't, but that's who I am. And so I take time to address it every day, to really actively take a look at my behavior and make things right that may have come across the wrong way. So when I look at my past actions and their impact on others, I often discovered that I didn't just harm or disappoint or anger other people. I also inflicted damage on my own peace of mind for my future self. And I still find myself, after over 7 years of sobriety, still tripping over past memories, stuff I've done that I'm shameful of. And when this happens, I need to talk about it with my sponsor or put it in my God box. Do I do this? No. If I'm going to be honest with you, I don't always do this. I have a couple things, that one in particular that I have not talked to my sponsor about, that I feel that I need to. And I keep putting it off. So yeah, some things die hard, right? But I still know that I need to do it. Yeah, so I've got that in my pocket. Some of those emotional scars, though, are buried really, really deep. And I mean, like ocean floor deep, like out of sight. But it still causes grief. It's not out of sight, out of mind in this case. And that's why it's important to dredge up those old memories and take action to resolve the leftover pain that you're carrying around. This thing that I was just mentioning that I feel like I still need to talk to my sponsor about is something that happened when I was like 21 years old. I might have been 20 years old. and it still sticks in my craw, as my old college roommate used to say. It sticks in my craw, and I feel like I need to address it, to release it in some way. So maybe by talking about it out loud right now, not the thing that I did, but the fact that it is something that stuck in my craw, that I will address it. Um, and addressing it means that, you need to take action in some way. And that could mean talking to your sponsor. That's like the most clear, straightforward answer. And by talking to your sponsor, you can talk with him or her about what it is that might resolve or put it to rest within you. And it could be volunteering for a cause that is related to that, whatever it is that you have done. It could be making amends to somebody. It could be writing a letter and burning it. There are lots of ways to set something free. So talking to another person is a great first step for doing that. And by revisiting these moments and sharing them confidentially with someone else, it shrinks it down to size, because as we hold on to things, they seem to just grow, and suddenly, if we talk to someone about it, they don't seem to have the same power over us anymore. When we ignore them, they seem to just reverberate within my nerves and turn into this monster that's just waiting for someone to say the wrong thing to me at the wrong time, and boom, I'm just going to damage my relationship with whoever it is that set me off. And it doesn't have to be that way. I can address these things. I own them, and it's my responsibility to do something about them. And when I don't do something about them, they can seriously throw off my relationships with other people. So while doing this whole self-searching business and ego checking and admission, it's not exactly anyone's idea of a good time. But when we're able to see the transformation after trying it one time, after admitting something and then taking some action about it, telling another person, we can understand that self-constructed cage that we're living in without admitting our wrongs is something that we don't have to exist inside. We can start to believe the possibility of a profound change by addressing each one at a time. This whole recovery journey that I'm on, that I share about, is not just physical sobriety. It's not just getting rid of this chronic head pain and visual impairment. It's mostly about peace of mind. And I follow the suggestions that are given to me by those that started recovery before me and found the solution for their pain. At first, it came in the form of, this is how I stopped picking up a drink. Try this. And then with my stroke recovery, it's like, this is how I started to heal. Try this. But then it really started to morph into something so much more, because my physical well-being and my mental and emotional well-being is really just 100% linked. It's intertwined. And by listening to these people that come before me, I'm able to start picking up the tools that they start suggesting to me, reading the literature, going to meetings, all of these things. And it's like actually listening to our parents when we're young and taking their suggestions because they actually know what they're talking about because they've been there and traveled the road already, which we don't do, right? We don't do as a kid. My kids don't. I didn't listen to my mom either. Um, all the times that my mom told me to clean my room, all the times that my mom told me to go out and get a job, all of these things, like she told me why I needed to do them, but I just didn't listen. And now today, as a 49-year-old, I know the importance of living in a clean home, taking care of my home, taking care of me, having a job, working hard at my job, all of that stuff. Like, I didn't listen to my mom back then. If I had listened to every suggestion that she had given to me, I would be so much more advanced in life than I am today. And I think that's everybody's case, right? But we have to figure it out ourselves. And that's what makes our path, our journey unique to us. Um, I tend to learn things the hard way, and learning things the hard way is really uh, intimately connected with this topic of admission, especially in the context of recovery. When we learn the hard way, we often go through experiences that bring about consequences that we would have, of course, rather avoided. And it's through these tough lessons that we're confronted with um, our own actions and the need to admit our wrongs, not only to ourselves, but to others. And in recovery, learning things the hard way for me involves like repeated cycles of making mistakes, repeatedly having my head hurt. Like this is coming to mind so much for me today because my head is just terrible today. My vision and my head is terrible. And by doing the things that I know I'm not supposed to do, I face the repercussions for it. And then later come to the realization that I need to change. That is learning the hard way. And it's painful, but it seems like the most powerful way of learning for me. Obviously, it's like I don't know. I shouldn't equate being an alcoholic to learning things the hard way because alcoholism is a disease. But it feels like it. It feels like a lot of the things that I've done in my life, I was just learning the hard way. It's hard to figure out where that line is between learning things the hard way and having a disease, the disease of alcoholism. But it really demands my attention and acknowledgement as part of the struggles that I face in my life. So admission becomes this pivotal point in learning from the hard-won lessons. And it's the moment where humility replaces ego and self-awareness is replacing self-deception. And by admitting where I'm wrong promptly, hopefully because I'm doing step 10 every day, and admitting that I'm wrong without excuses, that excuses part is the part that would come in at the beginning of sobriety when I was trying to face my wrongs and I hated it. I hated it. So I would make excuses. And I try to instead now take responsibility for my actions and their impacts on whatever it is, whether it's big or small. And this is an act of courage, and it really sets the stage for growing, I think, in our mental well-being. So learning things the hard way, though, I feel like really ingrains the lessons more deeply for me. So I don't know. Is that an excuse? I don't know. But the pain and the struggle involved in learning that way makes it really hard for me to forget. But it doesn't seem to work in stroke recovery as I keep doing things and learning the hard way. I keep doing things that I can't do. I think it's just, are we at the 30-day mark? Because it seems like every 30 days I talk about how my head is starting to hurt and how it's on a monthly cycle. So those of you who are listening every day, side note, thank you so much. But I need to recognize, like, when does this start happening? Because it's the end of the month again, and I swear it's because of the Emgality, the injection that I'm taking for my migraines, because it's the 26th, and I take it on the 1st. So it might be where it starts to wear off again, and so maybe I'm not totally responsible for whatever is happening to cause this pain. Maybe it's just that the medication is wearing off. But anyway, be that as it may, I think that applying the principles of recovery and when I'm wrong, promptly admitting it is really keeping me more on this even emotional track. I don't feel so much like I'm on this emotional roller coaster every day where I'm like thinking about the next day after I talk to, somebody, thinking back and being like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I'm actually taking time each day. Sometimes even like right after I had a phone call with somebody, I'll sit and think about it. Yes, I have a lot of time on my hands now. I understand that. But I think it's important. It's really helping me to feel serene by really taking a look at each situation as it comes, as it passes. So learning things the hard way, it compels me to confront my behaviors and admit my faults and commit to a path of continuous self-improvement. But it's a tough teacher that I'd rather avoid. And if I can try to focus on this idea of admission, it helps me to build that humility that 7 years ago, I had to look the definition up too. So that's what I've got for you today. And thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in to Recovery Daily Podcast. I'll talk to you tomorrow.